first
Television Centre tonight. Those 2-in-1 shampoos, beware, top hairdressers tell Watchdog they can make your hair dull and lifeless. Moburn's top-of-the-range kitchens, 44 customers say rip them out and burn them. And invest in Scotch whisky, say the glossy ads, double your money in 5 years. True, what do you think? Watchdog, the programme you cannot afford to miss. And the programme you can ring free of charge now, live in the studio. Here's the number. As usual, Alice is taking calls along with Denise Mahoney, Jonathan Maitland, John Nicholson and the rest of the team. First, 2-in-1 shampoos and conditioners, Pro V, Vidal Sassoon's Wash and Go, Timotei, now all sweeping the market as a quicker, faster way to take care of your hair. Puts back the gloss the manufacturers promise, specially tested by health experts.
My hair didn't always look this healthy and shiny. It used to be awful. Then I discovered new Pantene Pro V. It's a shampoo and conditioner with provitamin B5, which penetrates to nourish my hair from root to tip. So every time I use it, my hair looks healthier and shinier.
What could be better? A product that makes your hair look healthy and shiny and saves time and money, except a Watchdog survey shows 95 out of 100 hairdressers don't recommend continued use. And we are likewise receiving reports that when people change to 2-in-1 products, the result is not shiny, healthy, bouncy hair, but dull, lank and lifeless hair. Denise Mahoney reports.
A routine jamboree for the British hairdressing industry, but it's unlikely you'll find a model who washes with 2-in-1 shampoo. Even though £1.5 million is spent on products like Flex and Go, Pantene and Wash and Go every week, people in the know steer clear of them. That's because of one common ingredient: silicone. Silicone is an artificial chemical which adds gloss and shine to hair. It coats it with a plastic-like substance, which also protects hair against the harmful effects of chlorine or blow drying. But leading hairdressers Watchdog spoken to have doubts about its use. One of Britain's top stylists and hairdressing spokesman Andrew Collinge warns that use of 2-in-1s can jeopardise successful perms and colour treatments.
If anyone's used, say for example, a 2-in-1 product, that can cause a barrier on the hair, and it actually stops you getting a true curl formation or stops a colour reaching its true potential.
And Paul Edmonds, top Knightsbridge hairdresser, agrees.
Well, what very often happens is you'd get an uneven curl result in a perm, and so that the perm wouldn't be like a nice curly perm all the way through. It could end up going wavy in places. With colours, again, because you're affecting the porosity of the hair and you're putting a coating on the outside, it can affect how the colour takes.
Daniel Field is one of Britain's top colourists. He says unless it's used sparingly, silicone can build up on hair, making it dull and lank.
When you wash your hair with a 2-in-1 shampoo, a little bit of the silicone is left on the shaft of the hair because it itself is not water soluble. So when you wash the hair the next time, if you use another silicone-based shampoo, it builds up. But if you use a different shampoo, it takes a while for it to wear off. It doesn't just wash off in one wash. It's impervious to the shampoo.
And it's not just hairdressers to the rich and famous who have doubts about 2-in-1 shampoos. Watchdog's spoken to 100 hairdressers across the country, and an astonishing 95 of them don't recommend the use of 2-in-1 shampoos to their clients. And at Kensington and Chelsea College in London, trainee stylists learn their craft. What do the teachers and the hairdressers of the future think of 2-in-1s?
The problem with the 2-in-1 shampoo is it actually leaves the scalp very, very scaly. They get a build-up of the products on the hair, and then when they come to us, they've got what they think is dandruff.
But if you really examine it properly and you ask the client, what shampoo have you been using at home, then they will tell us an all-in-one conditioner and shampoo.
I would recommend my client to use separate shampoo and a conditioner by themselves.
And so do 95% of the professional hairdressers we spoke to. Tonight, Procter & Gamble, makers of the two biggest sellers, Wash and Go and Pantene 2-in-1, say there's no evidence our products can interfere with perming and colouring. Scientific and consumer research backs this up, they say. Revlon, makers of Flex and Go, insist it is safe for perms and colouring. Elida Fabergé, makers of Timotei 2-in-1 and Organics 2-in-1, say the products do contain silicone, but the company has, quote, only received one complaint related to perming. And Boots, which sells Boots Duo, says it's received no complaints. However, 30 letters and phone calls of complaint to Watchdog from customers and hairdressers about the build-up on hair regularly washed with 2-in-1s. Alice.
Coming up later on Watchdog, the men who make money from whiskey, refusing to answer questions and walking into lampposts. Taking photographs to Boots, what happens if it loses your special prints?
But next, British Gas. I can't move these days for people wanting to tell me a British Gas story. Complaints to Watchdog are coming in at the rate of 1,000 a week. 3-star service that doesn't work, bills that are too big, threats of disconnection when people don't even have gas. Are they in a mess? You bet they are. So out of all this, who's the luckiest gas customer in the country? You didn't think there was one. We took her to meet the source of her misery, the new 150 million British Gas computer billing system. Alice went as well.
Karen Pink from Worthing in West Sussex has been a British Gas customer for 17 years, and for 17 years she's had no complaints until now. Her problem, the British Gas billing computer. So here it is, the central British Gas billing system, and as you can see, it is huge. There are 1,000 people working in this one office. Set up a year ago, the new computer took 19 million customer files from 64 networks in 12 regions and transferred them all onto just one system.
I think at the height of the transfer, we're talking about one piece of information transferring every single second of every single day. It's been a tremendous undertaking and very hard work for everybody that's been involved.
But like the New York workstation it tries to mimic, the system has hit gridlock.
I just wanted to know why they were taking more money than they should be out of my bank account.
Mrs. Pink normally pays her bill by direct debit, £28 a month. All was well until August. Then, over the next 3 months, the British Gas computer debited 3 different amounts from Mrs. Pink's account. In September, £31.44. In October, £28. And in November, £35.94.
All they kept saying was, look at your August bill and it'll explain everything. But it didn't, because I hadn't got one.
Watchdog arranged for Mrs. Pink to meet the cause of her despair, the mighty British Gas computer system, at BG headquarters in Solihull near Birmingham. On hand to help us communicate with the computer was Pat Goldsby.
Ah, we've got a Mrs. Pink. Now, is this the right Mrs. Pink, Mrs. Pink?
Yes, that's me.
That's a good start. Mrs. Pink, on behalf of thousands of British Gas customers, here is your chance. Off you go.
Right, so where did my August gas bill end up?
Right, your August bill is on the screen here. It looks as though it went out from here.
Right.
It was produced, it was, as far as we know, it went out because it was certainly produced.
So it shows you on this screen that the bill went out 12th of August, bill
22nd of August.
22nd of August, bill for £37.42.
That's right.
And you didn't get it?
No. And then I started phoning for copies, and I didn't get those either. Why is it they can't seem to get it right?
It is because it is a brand spanking new system. And when at the time you were phoning, trying to get this sorted out, this system had only just gone into your area.
Right.
So the person that was looking at it was looking at a new system.
So they weren't really trained?
I'm sure they were trained, but it's experience as well.
Right. Because every time I phoned and got a different person, it was always a different reason as to why I was paying a different amount and why I hadn't got my gas bill. So you get a bit fed up.
Yes.
So, computer and customer together, can the problem be solved?
Okay.
Right.
Is that the right amount?
Yeah.
That's the right amount. So there we are. I've input that onto there. And there you are, showing on there. So that's the amount that we're now going to take in the future.
I think I know what you've done. I think I understand where we are. I don't understand my own gas bill. Most importantly, are you happy, Mrs. Pink?
Yes, thank you.
Jolly good. Pat, thank you so much for your help.
And Mrs. Pink's local office will understand what you've done?
Yeah, everything will be fine.
Good. Thank you very much for your time. So, well done, Mrs. Pink. Only another 15,999 complaints to Watchdog left to sort out.
Next, Dream Kitchens. Take a look at this ad, part of a £7 million campaign.
Every fitted kitchen and bathroom suite in our sale is up to 50% off.
There are Neff appliances, all at less than half the list price, plus every kitchen and appliance is fitted free, with an extra 10% off. Plus, with our design and build service, choose any fitted kitchen or bathroom suite at up to 50% off.
Yes, Moben, one of the biggest names in kitchens. It accounts for 70% of the market in direct sales. That means home visits. It also has 555 showrooms up and down the country. Moben's big commitment is to, and I quote, quality, service and value. Really? Jonathan reports.
Moben is a byword for class, luxury and excellence. At least that's what the company likes you to think. Their kitchens have names with a royal flavour like the Kensington, the York and the Balmoral. The costs are pretty regal too, up to £20,000. But according to Moben's salesman, well worth it.
Well, Mark was very concerned. It was a lot of money we were paying up front. And I said, you know, what happens if anything goes wrong, to the salesman? And he said, my dear, nothing will go wrong. You are dealing with the premier kitchen company. You will have a kitchen that will last you a lifetime.
Or rather, 2 weeks. The Larses had to have it ripped out within a fortnight. Before that, they filmed it and sent the video to us. To compare what they got with what Moben promised, we made a Watchdog advert from the claims in the company's brochure. For instance, Moben claim, you can trust us to take care of every aspect of installation with minimum disruption.
We were left without water for 5 days. We had no taps. And when we complained, the answer was, well, you've got a bath upstairs, wash up in the bath, which is what we had to do for 5 days.
Again, Moben claim, our highly trained craftsmen will not only fit your kitchen, but deal with all the necessary services and required standards of safety.
No, that's totally rubbish. Basically, the plumbing was wrong, that could have resulted in flooding, and worse than that, the electrics to the washing machine were faulty, and that could have resulted with effectively with the washing machine becoming live.
Another Moben claim, no matter how small, each component is carefully selected and quality controlled. We meticulously check every item at each stage to ensure your kitchen meets the highest standards.
The cooker hood used to, once you opened it, hit you in the head. The drawer pack was loose. There was no backs to the cupboard. The joints were cut incorrectly and then filled with filler.
Every time you opened the dishwasher up, the plinth fell off and you had to kick it back on again.
The quality was appalling, it was non-existent. And as for service, continued phone calls up to 16 before we got any response at all.
The Larses aren't the only ones. We've had 44 complaints about Moben kitchens, which is pretty bad news for those complainants, of course, but rather good news for the removal men. We know of someone who was recently paid to rip out 2 Moben kitchens in the space of a week. And this is where some of those unwanted kitchens end up.
MKD stands for Moben Kitchens Direct, but it could be MKH, Moben Kitchen Hell. This warehouse, on an industrial estate in Luton, is where rejected kitchens are stored before they're burnt, on a kind of giant kitchen funeral pyre. A big selling point is Moben's so-called no-quibble guarantee, but many customers say it's anything but. One has been waiting almost a year to have faults repaired. And others have complained about Moben's aggressive attitude. One couple, having seen their neighbour's Moben kitchen, decided to cancel their order, so they asked a Moben manager for a refund of their £1,200 deposit, but he refused.
He then took an extremely threatening and aggressive attitude and told me that not only would I not get my deposit back, but that he had every right to chase my husband and me for the full amount of the £5,000.
Although not entitled to their deposit back, dismayed, the Duffs got in touch with us and, surprise, surprise, Moben paid up in full. In fact, since we got on the case, they've gone into overdrive. At least 7 who complained to us were contacted by Moben within days.
Why has it taken Watchdog's involvement to suddenly
do what you should have done in the first place?
I would need specific instances so that I would be able to reply to that, because of course I'm not aware of any customer that we have tried to put right, as you say, in the last week since Watchdog has been involved.
Well, we've got Bruce and Susan Duff who've been waiting for days, weeks. Suddenly Watchdog gets involved. Hey presto, they're getting their money back.
There was no issue of Watchdog or anybody else. As soon as we were contacted, as soon as it came to my attention, the deposit was refunded.
If your craftsmen are highly trained, how come so many kitchens have been left with, drawers hanging off and holes in them and wiring faulty? That doesn't sound like highly trained craftsmen to us.
They are highly trained craftsmen, and if this has happened, we will put it right. We never leave a kitchen or a customer unhappy. It doesn't make business sense to us.
You never leave a customer unhappy?
No, we would never leave a customer...
All the 44 customers who wrote to us were very happy.
Unhappy.
Typically soothing words from the Director of Sales. And if Anna Sampson needs to know about some more unhappy Moban customers, here goes. Anne O'Sullivan, for 6 weeks, has been getting nowhere with Moban. Her kitchen has faulty wiring and a broken extractor hood. Now, Watchdog is on the case. Moban has agreed to rip out her entire kitchen. Mohammed Baluki from North London has 47 faults in his Moban kitchen. For 6 months, his washing machine has been glued up after Moban fitted a door to the frame. And the Butcher family from Catford, they sent us a video. They've had problems since April with their boiler, scratched work surfaces, and this socket installed dangerously close to the water pipes. Moban says Watchdog's cases are isolated. The company sells 30,000 kitchens a year. The vast majority of its customers, it says, are satisfied ones. But the crucial difference between Moban and other kitchen companies is that Moban insists on full payment before a single piece of kitchen equipment has ever been installed. With most of the rest, it's 25%. Which do you think is best? Anyway, tonight Moban Kitchens enters the Watchdog Helpline Call of Fame. Yes, folks, another emergency hotline number.
0800 854 789.
Open now until 10 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock tomorrow, and through the weekend, and through next week. So far, they plan to have Christmas Day off, but who knows? We'll see how the complaints square up. Alice.
Next, Boots the Chemist, sued this week for £30,000 for losing an explorer's roll of film. Dr. Barry Matthews led a 6-man team across the Arctic Circle. He took 36 photographs of soil, vegetation and permafrost. Vital evidence, he says, for his study into whether a new ice age is dawning. But the evidence wasn't easy to get.
We had difficulties getting through the ice on the sea. And the ice was enclosing around it. And it could have, in fact, crushed us. Eventually, after 2 days, we managed to get to some of the islands, but we had to avoid the polar bears. We were guarded by a Russian with a rifle.
They arrived at their destination and Dr. Matthews got out his camera.
Taking photographs of the soil profile with different horizons and of the vegetation around.
He took the film to Boots in Leeds, which sent them to the laboratory in Nottingham, but the film was lost somewhere between there and another Boots in the city.
They were extremely impressious, scientifically. They've lost part of my life's work. I've been building up this for the last 30, 40 years. What I think they should do, or what I know they should do, is pay for another expedition for me. I've spent so much money on the first expedition, and that I need for the funding for the second expedition. I think Boots should fund it.
Well, Boots has admitted liability, and Dr. Matthews is not the only frustrated and disappointed Boots customer. Arthur Connell from Wrexham took photos of his nephew's 18th birthday special because Daniel was leaving to join the army. Mr. Connell chose Boots' 1-hour special processing, but when he returned, the assistant said,
"I'm so sorry, we cannot find the film." So I said, "Well, what is the problem?" She said, "We don't know. We do not know. We cannot find the film." She had the empty cassette and she had the envelope.
Boots seems to be the worst offender, judging by Watchdog complaints, but complaints have come in about others too. Photo processing damaged 4 rolls of film belonging to Mr. and Mrs. Griggs of Worthing, Sussex. The photographs are of their holiday in the Dominican Republic, celebrating their silver wedding anniversary.
We took 6 rolls of film, expecting to have these wonderful pictures to look back on when we've come back as a memory, really. Something we can't afford to do again. My husband went down to pick them up, and the first I knew about it was when we got home. He said that unfortunately they had damaged some of the films. It looks as if someone's gouged out of the negatives a groove, and it looks like machine damage. It looks more like to me as if a cogwheel or something has caught it and ripped through it.
Photo Processing have offered the Griggs £25 to buy a travel book of the Dominican Republic.
That'll really make a difference. I bet it's what they've always wanted anyway. True print, bonus print, York photos, the list of complaint goes on. So we asked a specialist in consumer law, Mark Mildred, what customers should do if they are handing over special photographs.
The consumer's in a much stronger position if he or she, when taking the film in this example, says to the shop, now look, take specially good care of these. These are the work that I'm going to use for my livelihood, or these are the photographs of a holiday that I can never repeat. In that case, where the business has got prior warning of the importance, the business will be put to a very high standard of care, and if it loses them, it'll be liable.
Alternatively, insure them, because legally, if Boots lose a roll of film, no matter how valuable, all it has to offer the customer is a replacement roll and the cost of processing.
0500 500 567 is the Watchdog number. It's free, so it is often busy. But our team's here now, live in the studio, answering your calls. If you want to write to us, the address is Watchdog, BBC Television, London, W12 7TS. All the letters are read, but we can't promise to answer every single one of them. For more details on tonight's stories, see facts page 625.
Now, have you travelled on a shuttle to Scotland recently and read the glossy in-flight magazine or been reading The Spectator? All carry these seductive ads. Double your money in 5 years. Invest in finest quality Scotch whisky. Put your money down now. Buy a barrel in your own name and then trust the experts. They'll send you regular updates on how the price of your investment is rising. True? Should you believe a single word of it? What do you think? I think I know what you think. Here's John Nicholson.
Watery winter sunshine illuminates a majestic Highland landscape. For romantics the world over, what could be more enticing than to own part of this heritage? Whisky, Ushgaber, the spirit which warms the heart and soothes the soul. But this is the side of the industry most people don't get to see.
Excuse me, sir, we're from Watchdog. I wonder if I can ask you a few questions about the money that people have invested in whisky. Many people there have lost thousands of pounds.
This man's company, James Devereux Limited, sold small investors casks of malt whisky held at Highland distilleries, making promises that couldn't be kept.
Why are you not prepared to answer any questions?
Paul Cooper wouldn't talk to us, but he did tell creditors of his now defunct company that they'd lost their money.
They promised me about 18% over 5 years, well 80% a year for 5 years would double my money.
They get you on the fact that it's rather fun. You go into the offices and they've got some nice malt whiskies there and you try one or two. You like the whole history of whisky, and being a Scottish company, that was quite important to us.
And these are just the people who lost out to one dodgy dealer. A dealer who can't dodge lampposts. Many more are still in business. It's easy to see how you can be seduced by the images, the beauty of the landscape, the purity of the product, an established industry with centuries of tradition and a reputation to defend. Anyone would think that their money was as safe as distilleries. But the problem is that good single malts like Glenfarclas, for example, which trade for £700 a cask in professional circles, are being sold to private investors for more than £4,000, way above their true market value. Tax and bottling can add £3,000, leaving amateur buyers with a product too expensive to sell. Some end up ruined.
We get phone calls all the time from people who've seen adverts and maybe seen an in-flight magazine that says buy whisky as an investment. They might have seen something in the paper saying whisky is a good investment. They come on the phone to me, and they come on at least once a week. I get phone calls on this, and the first thing I say to them is don't do it as an investment. It's a bad idea. If you look at whisky as an investment, you're really heading for trouble.
Advice, unfortunately, which has come too late for Melvie and Clive Potter. They're travelling 400 miles north from Essex to the island of Arran on the trail of their £35,000 nest egg. The whisky they bought has been independently valued at £6,000. On Arran, they meet one of the distillers who sold whisky to the dealer who cheated them.
Welcome to All Around Distillery. I'm Paul Carrier, director here.
A face-to-face confrontation like this is a rare event. The criticism made of the distilleries is that they wipe their hands after they sell their casks, never expecting they'll have to meet in person the unhappy customers who eventually buy them and get lumped with them. The potters got to see the 2 Arran casks which have nearly bankrupted them. And then, with our cameras keenly focused, they got an unexpected result.
I assume you paid $16.50 for it?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, which is the normal price we'd sell at. No, I can assure you we'll do that.
You'll take it back from off us.
Absolutely, because we can put it into our own stocks.
So, total buyback £3,000, but more than £30,000 worth still on their hands. The potters know they've little chance of getting their money. Do you feel angry with him for investing all that money?
Yes.
But you must wake up sometimes and think, he was awful daft.
Yes.
Do you shout at him?
No.
Give him a row?
No. No. Money's gone, it's not worth it, is it?
I'm angry with myself for being caught in a silly way. Looking back on it now, silly thing.
So what of the dealers who cause all this misery? Are they backing off? Don't you believe it? We found them still plying their trade. I'm on my way to have lunch with Michael Barnard of Hamilton Spirit Management, the company based in Gibraltar which sold to the potters. Mr. Barnard thinks that my name's John Mackenzie and that I'm a Scottish expat living in New York. I've told Mr. Barnard that I'm keen to invest money in the old country, and he's told me that if I invest my money with him, my nest egg with him, I'll make a fortune. But what he doesn't know is that in a few seconds from now, when I go upstairs to have lunch with him, he's going to be secretly filmed by Watchdog.
Hello, pleased to meet you.
There's not a lot of our types of company about. There have been a couple of bad ones just recently, which have been found out, thank God. There's always a couple of bad apples in any barrel.
Well, he's right there. But how much will I make if I invest with him?
Basically, what happens with us is you'll be looking, we would conservatively look at 18% per annum compound. Right. Over 3 years.
Right.
5 years, you'd be looking at basically doubling your money.
So if I kept it for 7 years, I'd make a profit. I'd make a 500% profit.
More or less.
I mean, that seems an incredible return.
It does, I know, it's frightening. It really is.
Frightening indeed. By the end of the dinner, Mr. Barnard was so confident about his false promises that he even agreed to jot some of them down so that I could enjoy reading them again at home.
So, Mr. Mackenzie, or rather John Nicholson, have you got the jottings there?
Well, I have got the jottings. I've also got a fax from that man's boss in Gibraltar, and he says our staff are expressly instructed they must not make exaggerated claims. But the problem is that he made his exaggerated claims and he wrote them down on a bit of paper, and he promises me 500% profit over 7 years.
Right.
Black and white.
You're not recommending we invest in...
Drink the stuff, but don't buy lots of it.
OK, thanks, John. Denise?
2-in-1 shampoos. The lawyers from Procter & Gamble have been on, and they've referred us to this, a booklet produced by something called the Royal Society of Medicine. Attached to it, names of impressive doctors who claim to have carried out extensive tests on 2-in-1s. They say they don't build up on your hair, and perms and colours can go wrong for a variety of reasons, not connected with the shampoo. So a clear debate there between the hairdressers and the doctors.
Right, OK. For next week?
Banks and overcharging yet again. We've been to Kings Lynn, we've been to Norwich. Next week we're going to Leeds. A survey there of businesses shows that they've been overcharged by their banks to the tune of thousands of pounds. We're going to investigate.
And we just chose businesses at random,
didn't we?
Yeah, OK. Jonathan?
Annie, lots of calls coming in about Moban kitchens. There's a Mr. Punter who's been waiting 14 months for finished kitchen. And next week we're going to do car recovery services. There's a lorry driver who told us about running out of petrol on the M56. He called the police. They put him onto a recovery service who charged him, get this, 326 smackaroos to get him off the motorway, and for 8 gallons of diesel.
That's a lot of smackaroos, Jonathan. Alice?
British Gas. Mrs. Pink was very relieved to have her problem sorted out. Just a little preview of some of the British Gas cases we'll be reporting on next week. There's Greg McHenry. He's a top London barrister. He's been threatened with legal action if he doesn't settle his bill. The bill is for £0.0. Then there's a civil engineer from Hawley in Surrey. He's had his monthly direct debit payments put up from £51 a month to £489.50 a month. That's only £5,874 a year, not much at all. Then there's the 9 pensioners in sheltered accommodation in Cornwall. They've all received bills and they've been threatened with disconnection notices. Not one of them uses any gas at all. They're totally electric.
Is it getting any better?
Well, I'd like to think these are all old sort of complaints hanging on, but I'm not going to put any money on it, I'm afraid.
We'll look forward to that. That's it for this evening. From all of us on the team, Thank you for watching. Good night.